Okay, so the iPhone 12 is now finally here, and against the competition, it looks to have joined a serious battle this time round in this upper mid-range flagship section. So yes, let's talk about it with the iPhone 12 versus the Google Pixel 5 versus the OnePlus 8T versus the S20 FE. Now this is what you call a fatal four-way battle. Hi, Ben from Lover of Tech. If you enjoy videos like this, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you're part of Team TLS, the Tech Lover Squad, so you don't miss any future videos on the channel. Now, as of this recording, the iPhone 12 has been announced and is available for pre-order, but yet to be available to the public for purchase and proper hands-on testing just yet, which is also the case for the OnePlus 8T, with the Pixel 5 and the S20 FE now available to the public for purchase. Although I'm more likely going to be getting the iPhone 12 Pro Max, if there is any way I can get hold of the iPhone 12 in-house for testing, I'll get it in for testing for review in the studio. But stick around because I still want to give my initial thoughts and impression of these devices looking from the outside in, and which one I'm leaning towards and which one I might actually recommend in the end. Let's start with the design, and design wise, all four phones are taking a different approach in emulating and bringing a premium experience to a more accessible price in their own way based on the materials and the build that they're using. Now the iPhone 12 is using a new custom partner design glass material with Corning known as ceramic shield with an aluminium frame. Apple went kind of deep in the keynote about how it's the toughest glass ever on any smartphone, especially versus the competition, making this the most durable iPhone ever. But let's remember, glass is still glass. Let's get a case for it. What you also get is an improved IP68 rating at 6 meters for 30 minutes, single SIM card support, and an overall flatter, more boxy design, which is still rocking Face ID with no Touch ID support. Now the size of the device is based on a 6.1-inch display, and lastly you get 5 colors, which is white, black, blue, green, and product red. Now the OnePlus 8T is using Corning Gorilla Glass 5 for the front and the back of the phone with an aluminium frame, dual SIM card support, and although there is glass at the back, there is no wireless charging, which we'll get into later, and no official IP rating either. Now the size of the handset is based on a 6.55-inch display footprint with a 20:9 aspect ratio with an optical in-display fingerprint scanner and 2 available colors, which are the aquamarine green in a much more glossy finish and the lunar silver finish, which is in a much more matte frosted finish, just like the previous year with the OnePlus 7T, and this definitely looks like the one I'm leaning towards more. Now when it comes to the Pixel 5, it is using an aluminium unibody design, which seems to be a mix of also a clever resin material in the wireless charging coil area, which is enabling and allowing the ability to wirelessly charge through the metal frame of the body. Now I definitely want to get more details on this, like I said before, and durability is still in the air when it comes to the design, but so far this does seem like a clever way to use aluminium and metal and still enable wireless charging in a premium design. Now the size of the handset, man, this one is such a sweet spot at 6 inches with a rear physical mounted hardware fingerprint scanner and 2 available colors, which is black and green, or again as Google calls it, just black and sort of sage. Now when it comes to the S20 FE, it's definitely taken a different approach, using what looks like a brushed plastic or glastick, as Samsung calls it, as the main material for the overall design with an aluminium frame. Now when it comes to the size of the device, it is based on a 6.5-inch display. It does have an in-display optical fingerprint scanner and 6 different color options, which is cloud lavender, cloud mint, cloud navy, cloud white, cloud red, cloud orange. Man, it's always a lot of clouds to go through with these colors on the S20 FE. Now I have to say, the overall build in terms of the materials, it really does look like Apple, OnePlus and Google are the ones that are really pushing the boat in terms of the materials being used, as Samsung is using Gorilla Glass 3 with a plastic shell, but given this, it does also swing the other way. Otherwise, looking at it, with OnePlus lacking wireless charging and no official IP rating, which are present on the iPhone 12, the Pixel 5 and the S20 FE. Now let's talk about the display. Now all 4 devices, when it comes to the design and the function of the display, are all taking a very similar approach. All 4 phones have a flat display. Thank the display design gods, like I always say when it comes to this. Google and Samsung, OnePlus are all using a single hole punch in their display, while unfortunately Apple are still using that large notch based design from 2017. All 4 are using an AMOLED display, with Google and OnePlus and Samsung using a full high definition resolution on the display with a high refresh rate, and Apple is actually bringing the highest resolution display out of all of the devices at 2532 by 1170, but it's still using a standard 60Hz refresh rate on the display. But here, when we're reading and looking into it deeper, OnePlus and Samsung are both using 120Hz panels versus the 90Hz on the Google Pixel 5, and an even lower screen refresh rate, like I said before, of 60Hz on the iPhone 12. And although there hasn't been any official rating on the touch response on the S20 FE, the Pixel 5 and the iPhone 12, this is where OnePlus might have an advantage with a 240Hz touch response display, but potentially I do believe this should also be the case for the S20 FE as well. And front display wise, although it does look like OnePlus have done a great job with keeping the bezel symmetrical, you definitely got to give it to the Pixel here when it comes to the Google Pixel 5, man, because it's looking cleaner with those even symmetrical borders and bezels all around. And definitely when it comes to the Pixel 5 and the 8T, they're doing a much better job than the thicker bezels on the S20 FE. And although the size of the iPhone 12 is even smaller than before versus the previous iPhone 11, you can't ignore the fact that although functionally it's because it's needed for the Face ID, that notch is starting to look very dated and big right now in this age. And honestly, man, this one right here is a close battle. Yes, the iPhone does have the highest resolution out of all of them, but I have to say overall, OnePlus are looking good here, but testing is definitely going to be needed with the hands-on for sure. That will tell the full story of the display experience. Now let's get to the specs of the performance and also the battery. And this part is where this fatal four-way battle is getting really heated and is getting really serious. And if we start with the iPhone 12, it's rocking the brand new A14 Bionic chip, which is the first in the world right now as of this recording to use the updated 5nm process for maximum efficiency, a crazy 11.8 billion transistors, and Apple themselves are claiming up to 50% improvement in terms of the performance for the CPU and the graphics versus the competition. You also get 4GB of RAM with 64GB of storage, 128GB of storage, and 256GB of storage options on their own custom NVMe storage base. Now this is something that's just also coming and might be updated, so I'll probably update it in the comment section below, but we are seeing that the battery is rated at 2,850 milliamps with support for their wired 20-watt charging, 15-watt wireless charging with their new MagSafe charging attachment. And with this, you would think there would be wireless charging on the reverse side, but there is no reverse wireless charging support on the new iPhone 12 at all. Now, both the OnePlus 8T and the S20 FE are packing a Snapdragon 865 LPDDR4X RAM with 8GB starting on the OnePlus 8T, with 12GB having an option in there as well, versus 6GB of RAM on the S20 FE. Storage wise, you are looking at 128GB starting on both, and both are using UFS 3.1 storage, but the S20 FE not only has dual SIM support just like the OnePlus 8T, but there is also support for micro SD card expansion. Both are using a 4,500 mAh battery cell, but man, this is where the OnePlus 8T takes it to a whole new level with support for their new Warp Charge 65 with 65-watt charging, with what OnePlus are claiming a full charge from dead zero in 39 minutes, which is just insane and crazy, versus up to 25 watts on the S20 FE with support for 15-watt wireless charging and reverse wireless charging with their wireless power share, which is not present on the OnePlus 8T. Now compare that to the Google Pixel 5, which is using a Snapdragon 765G, 8GB of LPDDR4X RAM, 128GB of UFS 2.1 storage, which is non-expandable, with a 4,080 mAh battery that supports 18-watt charging, 12-watt wireless charging, and their wireless battery share technology with a single SIM card support. So I gotta say, man, when it comes to this part of the comparison, this ain't looking too friendly for the Google Pixel 5, and damn well OnePlus. 65-watt wired charging, you guys are seriously on game when it comes to charging speeds with the OnePlus 8T for sure. And although the S20 FE does support up to 25-watt charging, remember, you're only getting the 15-watt charger in the box versus the Google Pixel and the OnePlus, who give you the maximum fast charging bricks in the box when you purchase it. But even in saying that, man, you think it can't get worse? It gets even worse with the iPhone 12, which only comes with a Lightning port. Yes, we still get Lightning. We don't get USB-C this time round. A Lightning to USB-C cable in the box with no earphones and especially no charging bricks, so you best be ready to spend that extra money on a power brick. Another ace up the sleeve with the OnePlus 8T, like I stated before, it does have a 12GB of RAM option with 256GB of storage option, which still works out to be way cheaper than both the iPhone 12 and the Samsung Galaxy S20 FE in terms of pricing, which we're gonna get to later. And that was me thinking Samsung came good with the specs and the power, and then boom, Apple dropped the 5nm processor on the A14 Bionic. And if you even look at OnePlus overall, man, the performance on there is not messing about, especially with that 65W charging. That's definitely got my attention. So overall, man, this is going to need some hands-on, but I'm kind of low-key leaning towards what OnePlus are doing here, no doubt. But remember, like I always say, there's always a but. The numbers and specs are one thing, and the optimization that comes with it is another. So when it comes to software support, the iPhone is running its own unique software, as we know, which is iOS, giving Apple a greater control over performance and optimization with arguably the longest term software support with a minimum, I'm talking about minimum, of 5 years and beyond when it comes to software updates and support. Both the OnePlus 8T and the Google Pixel 5 have Android 11 out of the box versus Android 10 on the S20 FE, and although both Google and Samsung have promised 3 years of Android version updates versus the 2 years on the OnePlus, the day one software updates that you're gonna get on the Pixel as well as the iPhone will definitely be unmatched, with certain exclusive software features that will be well optimized, especially when it comes to the Google Pixel experience and iOS. Let's move over to the camera, and this section is also another interesting battle in the discussion, no doubt. Now, the camera on the iPhone 12 is based on the same principal experience as the iPhone 11, with the dual camera that consists of 120-degree ultra-wide field of view at 12 megapixels with an f2.4 aperture, and a 12 megapixel main camera with an f1.6 aperture, which is larger than before when it comes to the previous models, and a 12 megapixel selfie camera at f2.2. Now, when it comes to OnePlus, they're taking a very questionable quad camera setup with a single selfie versus the triple camera setup on the S20 FE with a single selfie, and an even more simple and focused approach from Google with a dual camera setup with a single selfie. Now, the OnePlus 8T is working with a large 48 megapixel sensor, a 60 megapixel ultra wide sensor lens combo with a nice 123-degree field of view, but a questionable 5 megapixel macro sensor, and come on, man, an even more questionable 2 megapixel monochrome sensor backed with a 16 megapixel selfie. Now, when it comes to Google, they finally listened and gave us an ultra wide angle sensor lens combo at 16 megapixels with 107-degree field of view, and that trusted 12.2 megapixel main sensor we've come to know and trust for their stills on the main camera, backed with an 8 megapixel selfie shooter as well. So yeah, simple and straightforward with the dual hardware lens with the selfie. Now, when it comes to the S20 FE, it hits the right notes well on the camera hardware side with a triple sensor lens combo, starting with a 12 megapixel ultra wide with a nice 123-degree field of view, a large 12 megapixel sensor, same as the S20 series, an 8 megapixel ×3 optical zoom lens backed up with a 32 megapixel selfie. Now, I'm definitely excited, like I said before, to try the ultra wide on the Pixel 5, as it's the first time Google have done this, and it's potentially might be one of the best when it comes to the source photography on an ultra wide. But like we said, testing is needed for sure. But even then, looking at it on the surface level, when it comes to the field of view, it is a decent amount less than what is being offered on the OnePlus 8T, the S20 FE, and even on the iPhone 12. So it looks like when it comes to that, it favors more on the FE, the 8T, and the iPhone 12 when it comes to the ultra wide for sure. But overall, it looks like video performance on the iPhone 12 especially, as well as the Samsung Galaxy S20 FE, is looking to be ahead overall as a package. Like, for example, both these cameras can shoot on the selfie camera 4K 60 frames a second with stabilization, and then if we look at the iPhone has the ability to shoot Dolby Vision HDR with 10-bit color at 4K 30 frames a second up to. And although the OnePlus has more than enough resolution to do this on the selfie camera when it comes to 4K recording, it can only record up to 1080p 30 frames a second, just like the Pixel 5, which again, like I said before, it's strange that the cheap and the less powerful OnePlus Nord can shoot 4K 60 on the selfie camera. But boy, this right here is definitely going to need some testing, because for all we know, when it comes to the pixel still processing, when it comes to pictures, regardless of how that sensor is, the processing is second to none. So definitely, this will be an interesting one to see for sure when it comes to the camera comparisons when it's done. Let's look at the price. This one is really going to tell the story, and the price of the OnePlus 8T starts at a crazy £549 with a £649 option. And that £649 option nets you that 12 gigabytes of RAM with 256 gigabytes of storage versus the Google Pixel 5 that comes in at 599 UK pounds. That gives you only one SKU, which is 8 gigabytes of RAM with 128 gigabytes of storage only, like I said before. And if you look at the S20 FE, it's starting at 599 UK pounds for the 4G only model, which is the Exynos 990. But if we remove that, and it's the 5G one, so there's parity and comparison and evenness, right? That one comes in at 699 respectively for the 5G Snapdragon model, but it comes with 6 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of storage. And then the iPhone 12, that comes in at £799. And yes, it does have 5G, but you are getting 64 gigabytes of storage when it comes to $799. And then it's £849 for the 128 gigabyte model, and an eye-watering £949 if you want 256 gigabytes. Yay! Wow, man, like bro, I'm the first one to appreciate and understand intangibles that are on offer when it comes to the absolute latest iPhones, from native apps like iMessage, FaceTime, etc. Heck, I made an a cappella video about this, so go check it out. I'll leave it in the description below and the cards above. I fully understand it, trust me, I do. But damn, Apple, it feels like a reach here when it comes to the price versus the competition that's at hand. Boy, like I said before, man, this new iPhone 12 and the iPhones that are online have to be more than the sum of the parts, because that price difference alone is a shock factor to the system, and the arena that they're playing in, trust me, is heated, no doubt. But yeah, man, this is my initial discussion talking comparison between these four devices. Man, it's interesting this year, like I said before. So let me know in the comment section below what you think of this. And again, man, that's it for me, Ben from Lover of Tech. If you enjoy videos like this, you know exactly what to do. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you're part of Team TLS, the Tech Lover Squad, so you don't miss any future videos that's posted on the channel. I hope you're all safe during this time. I will catch you in the next one. Peace.